They would have left thousands of years ago. This is a story. What I mean is we have to present our story. We have the greatest story ever told. A revolution that happens by the people, the wonderful leadership of Imam Khomeini, the structure of the Constitution, right? Not a dictatorship. The leadership of the Rahbar, the Majlis, and the Majlis Obregon. We have institutions that are world-inspiring. We believe we just have to tell that message ourselves.
Okay. Dr. Morandi, there's one thing that comes to mind when we're listening to our guest, Abdul Ali Musa there, and that is the fact that it's something that's been promoted by the West, and it's pretty obvious, and this idea of sectarianism and basically pitting, I should say, one sect against the other. It, in a sense, promotes the idea that one is better than the other, whether it's religion, whether it's ideas, or what have you. But that is not what Iran's leader is saying, because, again, looking at some of the questions that viewers have posed through the net, one of the things is why hasn't Iran's leader spoken of or said things against, for example, Judaism or Christianity? One of the questions, again, that's been posed. Why has that not been the case?
Well, I think it would be surprising if he did critique them. One of the things that we regularly see in the Western media is how Iran is opposed to Jews, as your guest rightly pointed out, but they failed to mention that Jews in Iran, according to the Iranian constitution, have to have at least one MP in parliament, even if there's, theoretically speaking, only one Jew in the country. We have a significant, healthy number of Jews in Iran, but even if there was only one Jew in the country, that individual would have to become an MP in parliament, because that's what the Constitution says. And the same is true for Christians as well. So unlike in Western countries where, for example, in France you have a very large Muslim minority, yet the Constitution does not acknowledge that, or at least the Constitution doesn't explicitly say that Muslims must be represented in parliament. In Iran we do have representation of these minorities. So it's obvious that the notion is not to critique any belief, any religion, any sect. The idea is that he's promoting is that Western governments and Western institutions of power, because of their hegemonic aspirations, they are basically demonizing other peoples in order to justify their policies. And they too are, in fact, the powers that to a large extent are behind the divisions. The sort of divide and rule policy that we've always heard of in the past is what the United States pursued in Iraq when it invaded the country. Iraq was a country where the Kurds, the Arabs, the Shias, the Sunnis, the Christians had been living side by side for thousands of years. And of course, after Islam, over 1,000 years, Muslims and non-Muslims. But the United States succeeded because of its own short-term policies in pitting one group against another. In Afghanistan and in Pakistan, the United States, during the 1980s, it supported the Saudi madrasas that were created throughout the country of Pakistan. Pakistan was a conservative country in the 1970s. It was a religious country, but people lived side by side in peace. Only after Wahhabism was introduced into Pakistan did we see the rise of extremism in the country, where we regularly hear of people being slaughtered in mosques, on the streets, by bomb attacks, suicide attacks. This is a recent phenomenon. It's been as a result of partially, as I said, hegemonic ambitions, and the fact that the United States has allowed its extremist allies to promote these ideologies. And another reason is because of the rise of this, the one cause behind the rise of extremism is American support and Western support for dictatorships and the Zionist regime, the Israeli regime, because Zionism itself is like ISIL.